Welcome, guys, to the first episode of Nintendo Fanboys in over 2 years. I think this is episode 73. I'm not sure. I tried to look through our playlist this morning and it was very confusing and hard to do. But I think I found it, and I think the last one was 72.
Amazing.
So that, if my math is correct, that would be 73.
Okay, dude, do me a favor. Take your laptop and push the screen back a bit because we're staring at your... There we go.
Awesome.
That's perfect.
Because like I told you, I don't see myself. I see a black screen. Jarrod changed the meeting from Zoom to Teams at the last second, and it threw me off completely.
Yes, and I'm texting you. I'm texting you and everything. I'm like, where the hell did you go?
I'm retarded with tech. Well, in general, and like I could not figure this out, so I had to close a bunch of stuff and figure it out, and now I can't see, so I'm going ghost.
It's good.
So
it's okay. We see you
coming out of my nose, and I would not know. But this is awesome. That's perfect.
Okay,
so yeah, this would be it. I wanted to do a Fanboys. It's been a while. I wanted to talk about the Switch too, but I think you and Tib did yesterday.
Dude.
Recording on, we're recording on Sunday, and you posted an episode yesterday. I hadn't had a chance to look it up yet, so I'm not sure what you guys talked about. But
don't worry,
it doesn't really matter because I just was curious about a few things, but I think I'll skip that for another day because I want to concentrate on a few things because it's going to be Pokemon Day in 2 days.
Yep.
And depending on when, I'm hoping this goes on before that, either tomorrow or later today, because it would be pointless to have our Pokemon Day predictions after Pokemon Day is done. But I want to talk about I never had a chance to review Scarlet and Violet, so I want us to have our discussion on that later. I also want to talk about some sales figures for Pokemon, and one interesting thing I want to start with is we used to talk about that on Fanboys episode many years ago. Like, this actually was my baby. I love this podcast. Like I told you before, these were like some of our most popular videos on our channel. But unfortunately, we've stopped, and I'm not sure we're ever gonna get back to that because like back then I used to be like the Fanboys name was me. Like I was always in the news with Nintendo. I kept following them. Now I could not tell you anything about what's going on, so it's going to be harder to keep, but I still want to do some Fanboys episodes here and there. And one discussion we've had before is the virtual console. You are always wondering why Nintendo just doesn't release all their games and whatnot, and why it's gone. And a lot of people are, and I've always told people that I don't think these games sell as much as you people think, and I think we have the proof now. So the Pokemon series, as you know, is a huge seller. Like I think Red and Blue, it's 36 million, and now we have Sword and Shield at 26, and Scarlet and Violet at 23, and Gold and Silver at 22. Whatever, those are big sellers. But the 3DS, I think it's close to 80 million. It might be in the lower 70s, but whatever. It has a lot of people, right? And on that system, there was a virtual console, and they released Red, Blue, Green, Gold, Silver, Crystal. So 7 Pokemon games on there, all classics, all very popular games. Do you know approximately how many copies they sold on the virtual console?
Not many, I'm sure.
Take a guess.
Oh, I don't know, a million?
A million. All 7 games combined sold 1.5 million copies.
Yeah.
All 7 games. So that's why there's no more virtual console, guys. It just doesn't sell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's smarter for them to either repackage these games and sell them individually, or do some kind of remaster, or whatever the case may be, or put them on the Nintendo Switch app where you have to pay, $25 a year, and you get the NES, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo games, stuff like that. So I was curious about your thoughts on that, because this kind of proves my points. I think that if you go back to the Wii, it's probably even worse back then because people were still not very used to downloading games and all that. But 3DS is still fairly recent. Of course, it's a 2011 system, but still, these are highly sellable games, and they only sold 1.5 million copies combined. So I think that's pretty interesting in its own self.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, that is not surprising at all, because take the NES. What was it called? The NES Classic, right? That thing sold out overnight and like was impossible to find and this and that and everything else. But it like they manufactured like 50,000. And that's the thing that people don't understand. They don't put these things in perspective. Jarrod wants a virtual console and a whatever, but I'm well aware of that. That like I am in the overwhelming minority when it comes to these sorts of things. Most people are like Tim. They play their game and they move on. Like and that's that. For me, it's just I look at it because I like playing the Lego. Like I enjoy it, right? Like my A Link to the Past. I have owned that game like 215 times, and I love going once a year or twice a year, going back and just spending like 3 hours and going through the whole game. Like that's just. But I'm aware that it's me, right? I do like it. I do think backwards compatibility. And like the whole subject of like video game preservation, like personally, I like that, but that's not really surprising to me. Honestly, it's not, because I can just see it in like the people that I interact with. Nobody plays retro. Nobody. And all of these, like this thing, right? This analog pocket thing, like how much are they really selling of these retro systems? Not millions. Definitely not millions. You know what I mean? Like it's probably like 50,000 at the higher end. Like it's probably somewhere.
I think even that is
pushing
a
it. Yeah,
push
I agree.
For that type of thing. I think for the NES Classic, they probably sold a few million. That was nostalgia, and it's nice on the shelf. And moms and dads remember that from their childhood, and they're like, "Well, we'll buy this. It's cheap. Our kids will play it, and then it's just collect dust." But people will buy them. But for something made from a third-party company that nobody knows, like this will be for the guys like you. Like I'm sure
exactly.
they're profitable, but it's not something that.
No, exactly. And so, you know, Tim and I spoke the other day, not about this, but we were talking about like Xbox, right? And like how Microsoft, like of all the companies, they've probably done the best job of like backwards compatibility and like preservation. The fact that like today you can go, you said you bought a Series S, was it?
Yep.
So like you can go on the Series S right now, put in your user ID and like take a look at like how many original Xbox games you can download. It's unbelievable. Like, but is that really a system seller? I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Like I'm telling you, my kids, they have 500 or 1,000 games here to play, and they don't.
Well, that's it.
They're not interested in going back and playing old games and even new games barely. So yeah, no, I thought that was interesting because
it is.
I knew why, but I did not think the sales would be that low for a series such as Pokemon. So
yeah, well, I'm not that surprised because let's be honest, like Sony and Nintendo. Both of those companies have not invested much, right? Like and when I say backwards compatibility, I don't. That's not the right term. In their legacy software, let's say they haven't invested a gajillion dollars into like making all these games playable and stuff. And like you said, I think that's the key. If these things had sold 20 million, you bet your ass that every one of them would be playable. It's just for me. It's just. I like the nostalgia. I like it's a Jarrod thing, but I know that. I'm weird.
That's true. Okay, next thing. I want to talk about Scarlet and Violet, and then we'll move on to our Pokemon Day predictions, which I'm sure you'll have tons.
A million.
But yeah, I want to talk about Scarlet and Violet because to this day, I've reviewed pretty much every Pokemon game on the channel. It's my passion. Like Pokemon is your Dragon Quest or your Zelda to me. And I was able to convert you kind of. You used to be a big Pokemon fan. I think you still are in a way, but you haven't played Scarlet and Violet that much, right?
There's being a fan, and then there's being you. These are two different.
No, but I mean, I remember when Home was released, you completed your decks in there. You went back and played a bunch of games, even with Legends Arceus. You completed the Pokédex in that, and then with Scarlet and Violet, I don't think you have, right? Have you kept in line and made sure you got every single in the DLC? And
I think what happened with me with with that was the timing. It was just really, really bad timing. Because that was released just as I became a director, and my time vanished. Like I wasn't playing anything. Literally nothing. I was not playing. What I'm looking forward to this week with Pokemon Day is I'm curious to see what is going to be announced, because I'm in the mood now. So now I'm in the mood to actually play another one. Now, if it comes back and there's nothing this year, I'll probably go back. And play.
Yeah. No, it's just because I was curious, because you usually made sure you got at least one of each Pokemon for your Pokemon Home Pokédex.
Yep.
And there was DLC. You haven't played the DLC,
no,
right? All you did was go to credits and then stop, right?
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, that's a big deal. That says something, because at that point in time, I had stopped everything. So the fact that I even finished it is that's a big deal. Like, because the only games that I played was basically that, and then there was like pretty much nothing. Well, you saw my list, right? Like my top 10 list was like 3 games were from the year before, and like so that's actually a big deal. And this year, pretty much outside of Zelda, like finishing Zelda, that's why I'm saying I'm in the mood, because like I've just been playing like retro stuff.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with your thoughts, because I'll kind of do maybe a semi-review here, because I'm not sure if I'll ever get around to it. But what were your thoughts on what you played of Scarlet Violet? I know it's been a while,
obviously. It's been a while, man.
It's been over a year, but still, just your general thoughts compared to Sword and Shield, or just in general.
Well, Sword and Shield don't count, because like that was at a point when I had like lots of time. It was really good timing, I think, and it was Arceus was right after, right?
That was 2 years after.
Yeah, okay. So like the last one that I like really got like finished everything or whatever was Arceus, right?
Yep.
Okay, so
yeah, because that was just after, that was like 3 months after BDSP. And even BDSP, I think you finished the Pokédex on that one, and that was like a more of a hardcore old school game.
Yeah. So because like obviously the ones that I spent more time with, I remember more. So I remember that one, like really enjoying like the open. Man, you should go first, not the other way around. You'll probably like bring my memory back of, because the truth is like that's one I need to go back to. I don't remember, to be really frank. That's the one that was like the Portugal Spain, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's open. It's the first open world in the series.
Right.
That was the big difference with it.
Okay, I'm just thinking. No, but that's a badass one. That was a good one. That was pretty cool. That was the one with the like the motorcycle dragon thing, right?
Yeah.
No, that was a good one.
The Paradox Pokemon, I mean.
Yeah, no,
you
that
had
was
the
cool.
girl, right? The girl professor.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed that. I think I didn't. No, I'm trying to remember what was the first DLC for that.
That was a Kitagami, and it was in September of this year.
No,
so I doubt.
No. Okay, what's the one with? There must have been the other one I'm thinking about with the train, where you took the train to like the new island or whatever it was.
Yeah, that was in Sword and Shield.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Right. You talk. I'm all screwed up here.
Yeah. So Scarlet Violet came out in November of 2022, right? So it's been over a year and a few months now. And it was very controversial because, like, when I did my review for Sword and Shield, I had just finished Dragon Quest XI, which I thought was just a masterpiece, and it was just kind of like Square Enix or whoever made that game took everything that was good at Dragon Quest and modernized it, right? Mm-hmm. And they gave us voice acting has been in for the North American versions for a while, but they gave us that. Amazing visuals, like HD, amazing visuals, good music, voice acting, everything to a tremendous package. And when I played Sword and Shield, the first thing that hit me was like, this game doesn't necessarily look that good compared to Dragon Quest XI. There's no voice acting. It's really weird in this day and age to have like somebody speaking and no voice coming out with subtitles. And it caught me a bit off guard because when I saw the trailers for Sword and Shield, I was really excited. I thought the game looked beautiful, and then when I played it, didn't look that sharp. So I was it ended up being an awesome game. Like Sword and Shield is probably my favorite Pokemon game of all time now. And so I wanted to give that context before, because with Scarlet and Violet, it's even worse, I think, because from a technical standpoint, the game really runs terrible.
Yeah.
It's and I don't understand to this day how this is something that is allowed, because this is not like it's an indie like game. It's one of the at one point this was the most profitable franchise of all time.
It still is.
I think Hello Kitty passed it. I don't know why.
Are you sure?
But yeah, well, maybe not. But anyway, it's in top 5.
Are you sure? I don't believe you. Because, man, anyway. It had, like, I don't trust you, most successful franchise. This is how we do things, guys. Real professional. Yeah, no way, man. It's still number 1. 92 billion compared to Hello Kitty's 80 billion.
Okay. So I was wrong. I thought Hello Kitty passed it, and then maybe Pokemon repassed, whatever the case may be. Still, like this, it's not like this is a small franchise like Stardew Valley with one person making it. This is huge, and I don't understand why. And maybe this is the Japanese mentality, but then I go back to Square Enix and Dragon Quest, the times of effort. Then again, it's different because they don't release a game every year. Pokemon kind of they don't need to, but they want to because it's profitable, obviously, to release a game pretty much every year.
Yep.
So they don't have necessarily the same development time, but still, like, Game Freak has been disappointing me lately with how with their quality of their games, not in terms of gameplay, but in terms of how they look and how they handle. Like, Sword and Shield didn't necessarily look that great, but it didn't have crashes. It didn't stutter every like in Scarlet and Violet. There are places that you go if it's raining and you're in the sea and there's like tons of Pokemon spawning. It's barely playable. It's unexcusable, and I don't understand how that can happen with such a high profile franchise. And Nintendo said like a month after that they were aware of it. They were working on some fixes and they were hoping minor changes happen. What they basically did was in some areas where there was a lot of Pokemon that spawn, they reduced the spawn. So it kind of made it a bit better, but that's about it. So it's clear now that this game will probably forever be in this state, which is sad because it's still a solid game, but it's just, like I said, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I don't understand how such a big franchise can have such poor development.
Well, I will tell you the same thing that you already know, and that I had to argue with Tim. The podcasts with Tim are fun because I end up debating with him in his own words. Like, it's really funny. But the truth is, and I hate to say this, but I think the answer is because they can. That's the honest thing. Yeah. I disagree. I completely disagree. And I do remember that. I remember it running like ass. And I just think that the reason why is because of what you said. The fact that they have short development times and the fact that they can. I mean, how many copies did this thing sell?
23 million.
That's a lot. 23 million, man. Like,
yeah.
But I know what you're going to say. I can see it in your face, and it's true. Long term, this can harm your series. Mm-hmm. If you keep doing that, and Pokemon, the name Pokemon, becomes synonymous with poor quality, eventually that will have, at least it should have, an impact.
No, it's 100%. You're right. Like, if this is a one shot, because like people complain about Sword and Shield, yeah, it doesn't necessarily look as great as some other games, but it was a solid game. You can hate it or love it, but there's no denying there was a lot of good stuff in that, and it sold very well. People were mad about the exit. It didn't really matter in the end.
Right.
But then when you release a game like this with so many bugs and so many frame rate issues and just going online playing raids and having there's a lot of glitches, bugs in those. It doesn't necessarily always run well. If they release the next game and it's like this, I'm not sure. Like the momentum they have right now, like you said, it can damage long term and eventually, like, because Pokemon games are in a place right now where they sell really well. They've always sold well, but like the DS games, they were in the 15, 16, 17 million range. Now we're talking about like 20, 26 for Sword and Shield, 23. Crazy. And a few years, even Legends Arceus sold 15, BDSP 15. Like, that's a lot of sales. Let's Go Eevee Pikachu 15 as well. Like, that's many, many sales. And if they want to keep these sales, and I'm pretty sure they do, they probably want more. They need to figure this out. And I don't know if they will.
Well, so I really want you to talk. I mean, I don't want to change subjects or anything, but I really want to hear what you have to say about this Pokemon event. And depending on when we finish, Steven, I can maybe get this up right now. Like, I can post this today. But I do want to hear what you have to say. Again, I'm not saying to switch the subject, but like I'm fascinated because when I saw the tweet or whatever it was saying like, oh, Pokemon Day is, like in 48 hours, or I think it was like on Friday I saw it or whatever. I was just like, I have a lot of questions for a guy like you. I have a lot of questions because Switch is at the end of its life now, clearly. Because even Dragon Quest Monsters, you played it, I sent it to you a little late, but you weren't there on day one. On day one, it wasn't as bad as the Pokemon, the last Pokemon games, but it was rough, man. Like, the frame rate stuttered like crazy, but they released like 3 or 4 patches by the time you got the game that it's not perfect, but it definitely improved compared to day one. Day one was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I see some frame rate issues now and then and some jiggery, and I heard people complaining, and I'm like, comparing to Pokemon, this is awesome. Like the issues with Dragon Quest Monsters, like it's not perfect, but like,
but you should have seen day one. Yeah. Day one was janky as hell, man. But my point is just like we're coming to the end. Anyways, I don't want to screw up your plans here, but I'm just saying that like I am really curious to hear what you have to say here, because to me the Switch, dude, it can't even play Contra. Did you try the Contra demo?
Not yet.
Try it, man. It's janky as hell. Like, I'm like, what the hell is happening? It's Contra, for Christ's sake. Yeah. It's not.
No, it's funny because I'm playing Rocket League on my son's PS5, and my girlfriend is playing Rocket League on the Switch next to me. And then the other day, I went and put the kids to bed. When I came up, she was playing on the TV. And I was like, holy, I never noticed how Rocket League on the Switch looks like ass until now. And even she noticed it. So yeah, the Switch is a very, very old system. Even a guy like me who can barely see the difference between 30 frames per second and 60, well, honestly, I cannot see it. I can notice this stuff. It's becoming like with Scarlet and Violet. Like I said, this is the first time where I notice how bad a game can run.
So then, dude, could you imagine if the next mainline entry...
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the system, because Breath of the Wild is so much more impressive than Scarlet and Violet, and that's a launch game for the Switch. I think it's a Game Freak issue. I don't think they're very good at making games.
No, yeah.
They make good gameplay, they make a solid foundation, but for actually making the guts of the game, I don't think they're very good at it, and they've never proven me right yet. And even what is it? Little Town Hero was the game they made.
Oh yeah.
Even that game was a Game Freak, was pretty good, but run like ass, looked like ass. So I think Game Freak are just not that good at making video games.
It's hilarious because they have like the most successful franchise in history. Like, you think, hire some people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, but like you said, they don't need to.
Exactly, precisely. But
eventually,
I am curious. I am really curious because with the Switch, you're right. I just think it's happening more and more now. Like, I do feel that the Switch is at the end of its life. Like, they're gonna need a new console, because like I couldn't believe that when I started to see videos. I thought people were crazy, man. Like, I've been playing a lot on the Steam Deck, and so I tried the demo on the Steam Deck, and I was like, oh, it's fine. It's Contra. It's like a reimagining of the original Contra. And when I downloaded it on the Switch, I was just like, oh man, this is bad. And again, though, is that a Konami problem? Is it a like whatever? But my point, I don't think anyone's going to argue with us that I do think the Switch is finally like, okay, guys, it's time. Like, it's time to get the next system. But I got so many questions for you. Like, I got so many questions because if they make the next mainline Pokemon game, let's be frank, with the way Game Freak is going, it's not gonna be.
Let's table that for just after this. Let's finish with Scarlet and Violet before, because I want to talk about kind of the overall game here. The biggest, obviously, thing with that game was the open world. First Pokemon game to be open world, and how did you like that? How did you find that game to play with the open world aspects of it?
From what I remember, I thought it was pretty cool because I'm trying to remember how it was broken down. No, it was cool, man, because like you could explore pretty much anywhere you wanted to, and depending on the weather, you'd have different Pokemon, like if it was day, night, rain, right? Or am I dreaming?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. If it just ran better, and if I remember right, there were areas that were barren though, were they not? Or am I dreaming?
Oh yeah, and like, do you remember the windmills? The windmills would move at like 2 frames per second, depending on how far you were. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I thought for a first open world game, it wasn't that. It was pretty okay. I still prefer the classic collect your 8 badges in a set line and then you open it up, because the way it was made did not change the levels of the gym leaders or nothing like that. So I had no idea which one was the first one or the second one. So I would go to some areas and then almost get my ass kicked, and then go back and face like the bug type gym leader that has level 15 Pokemon, and like my team is all 50. So it was like really unbalanced. I'm not sure if there's a proper way to do it. I'm not sure if I would prefer it to go back to the old ways.
There is a proper way. It's called adaptive. So that would be it. That based on your character level of your team, they would adjust. But I think there would be a bit more than that, because let's say there's a Pokemon that's level 12, and now if it's level 50, it's a different Pokemon, right? Or they just don't evolve it. It would still not. They would have to change the teams and stuff like that. It could be done. Don't get me wrong. Yes,
we're talking about Game Freak here, so it would take a lot of work for them to figure this out. But there's a lot of improvement needed for if they continue in that direction, and I think they will. I think open world is what people want from this franchise, so I think it will stay that way from now on. The Terra Stella is the Terra, whatever you want to call it. Compared to Dynamax, it's a hit and miss. Like for competitive, which I know you have no experience with, it's a lot of fun. Like playing with Terra Pokemon, because you can change a Pokemon's type. So it completely changes the way of the battle. If you're expecting your opponent to be an electric type and then you Terras into water type or whatever the case may be, you might have attack. It's really fun. But for the single player experience, I thought they handled it terribly, because all the people who did it were the gym leaders, and what they would do, they would simply Terra into their type. So if it's a grass type, they would introduce a Pokemon, and then that Pokemon might be good against your Pokemon, but then they would Terra into grass, and immediately you can just click your fire move again and win. So it was very stupid how they handled it. They did not do a good job of showing you the potential of what Terra type is compared to what Dynamax was with Sword and Shield. Dynamax was one of my favorite because it was a lot of fun to play in competitive, but also a lot of fun to play in the single player game, because you could only do it during gym battles, so it made it epic. Every time I went to a gym, I couldn't wait to finally have the chance to Dynamax my Pokemon for the first time in a while. That was really well done compared to Scarlet and Violet. Although I will give them the edge on the raids. Doing those Terra raids are such a blast, especially the 7-star raid one. It's a shame you never tried them, because it's it's such a different experience of Pokemon playing these with the friends because you need to be with friends to handle these 7 stars. They're just really, really hard. So I'll give them the edge on that. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything here.
No, I agree with you. I remember it being not as good. Well, not as good, but like I didn't enjoy it as much as the previous game. Like this. So yeah, I don't really have anything else.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. I think we can leave it at that for now. Like the DLC came out, very good DLC by the way, very very weird, especially the Indigo disc. Lots of cool things. And you've played Black and White, I believe, but Black and White is the generation that brought me back in the series. I left after Gen 4, eventually came back and finished it, but wasn't a much fan. But Gen 5, loved it, loved the music, loved everything about it. And in the Indigo disc DLC, it's cool because you play the game and the battle music is the remix battle music from Black and White. So awesome, really well done. Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Glad we had your take on that, but now we can move on to Pokemon Day. Maybe your question you had.
Well, yeah, I'm really curious. I mean, the Switch has sold 500 billion systems, so obviously the next mainline series, I can't. Well, will it be a mainline series or will it be a remake of another? What do you think we're gonna see on Tuesday?
I'm leaning more towards a remake or a side game. I'm not sure if we're getting a new game this year. Usually Pokemon doesn't care about the Switch 2. They usually stay on the system for a year or two after that. They did the same thing with the 3DS. Remember where Pokemon Stars was the big rumors for the Switch in 2017. Then we ended up getting Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the 3DS. People were mad about that, but they always do that. They don't want to go on a system that has like only a few million installed base at the beginning because they're going to lose a lot of sales. That you can't sell 20 million copies on the system with 5 million homes. So they usually do that. I think they will do that again. The curious thing I have is, will the Switch 2 be backward compatible? Because if it is, then that would kind of solve this issue. They could release a game and say it will work on any of the systems. So then people could buy it no matter the case. So we'll see. But I don't think we're getting Generation 10 this year, because that would be soon, especially considering the issues they've had with Scarlet and Violet. But it always depends, because Pokemon also has to follow the anime. There's anime episode that has been going on since, and if Generation 10 is planned for next year in the anime, obviously they need to release Gen 10 next year. But I don't think so. I think it will be the obvious thing to think about is Gen 5 remakes. But usually we've had Gen 4 remakes like in 2022, so that would only be 2 years in between. Usually they take a lot more time than that, so we'll see. But it's going to be curious to see on Tuesday whatever they announce. I'm hoping for at least one new game this year because that's the only thing I play now, so I need something. But
guaranteed game of the year for you.
Yeah.
No, because that's actually the thing that I'm the most curious about. I thought the same thing, where I was like, okay, if they do like a Switch 2 that is fully backwards compatible and just like maybe, improves frame rates or something to that effect, then there you go, right? Like problem solved. You could release your next gen. But I thought the same thing, where I was like, yeah, okay, but last gen just came out like the last iteration was in September, you said, right? Was the last expansion?
In December. The second DLC was in
December. Wow. Mm-hmm. So that's, I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're going to announce. There's going to be a new game this year, 100%, but what?
Yeah, maybe they were going back to Let's Go. Maybe they're going to go, maybe not the same name, but they're going to do Johto now. They did the remake of Red, Blue, Yellow in that style. I'm not really sure, because when they did that, like Pokemon Go was really, really popular and they were hoping to capitalize on that. Now it's a bit less, and so I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting.
Do you think we could have
2 days?
Do you think we could have like another Arceus type thing, like something totally original?
That's a good possibility. I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly in the same playstyle. I wasn't a big fan of Legends Arceus, but there's no question that it sold well, so people love that. So they might go back to that. But you have to remember, like, that whatever they announce, if they announce something, that game has been in development for 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna backtrack from that. But to be honest, my hope is a black and white remake. That's one of my favorite generation.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see. I just want them. I don't want a Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl though. If they're gonna give me a remake, I want them to give me a proper remake, like they did on the 3DS with Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. Like do it with the current engine. Kind of sucks, but like make it good. Like not just like BDSP where they half-assed it. Still ended up having a blast with that game, but I would like to have a proper remake this time, especially of Gen 5. It deserves it.
Well, we'll find out. Hopefully you'll have time. Maybe we could record something on Wednesday or whatever. It would be nice to actually have a follow-up.
We should. We also need to take in consideration that there might be like almost zero announcements. Sometimes Pokemon days are a huge letdown. Like even like I think Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, when they were released, they weren't even announced on Pokemon Day. So
really,
you never know. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see. It might be nothing. Maybe they'll just talk about the anime for 15 minutes and then announce some new trading cards, and that'll be it.
Well, you'll be the first one to know. I'm sure you already have it in your calendar with 19 reminders and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sadly, it's on my Tuesday, so the day I travel for 3 hours, so I won't be able to watch it live, unfortunately. But
you can't listen to it in the car or anything while you're traveling?
There's no signal.
Oh yes, I keep forgetting you live up.
I live in a different world than you.
That's right. Okay, well, whatever. We'll see what happens. I'm really, really curious. Like the timing of everything Nintendo related right now is a little bit up in the air, I find, because I mean there's all the Switch 2 rumors, and by all means, if you want to talk about any of the Switch 2 stuff, I'm totally fine with that too, because like it's...
I would have needed to watch what you guys said because I probably would talk out of my ass. I know nothing about the Switch 2.
It's Tim.
Absolutely nothing. So. Like I said, like the Switch now, 2017 will be 7 years old. It's 7 years old now. Will be 8 years old next year. So that's pretty good.
Man, how is that even possible? I can't believe. It seems impossible to me that the Switch is that old.
Yeah, there's no reason to release something when it's still selling, but I'm not sure right now if it is. I haven't looked at the sales. I'm sure it's declined year over year, of course. But like the sales of the system obviously slowed down the need to have a successor. But I think now it's probably time soon. I don't think we have any big hitters. I don't think there's a new Mario or new Zelda coming out for the system. So obviously they're gearing up for the Switch 2, whatever it's called. I'm curious about the name. I hope they have a decent name for it. Even Switch 2 would be good compared to if they call it the new Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch U. I hope
they cannot do that. If they did not learn their lesson from the Wii U, like then they're morons. But I'll be honest, man. Like I'm really, of all the next gen hardware or whatever, the Switch, the sequel, the next Switch, I am the most intrigued by this because we have come very far with mobile technology. That's all that Tim and I spoke about. It had nothing to do with the Switch. It was about like mobile chips and the fact that like your phone can play, Resident Evil 19, and yes, it's not. It's not going to be like identical to the Xbox or the PlayStation.
Yeah, but a phone is expensive, though.
No, right. But
that's what Tim keeps. I'm not sure. Maybe he's changed, but he keeps forgetting that Nintendo wants an affordable system because they want people to buy it.
Precisely.
They don't want.
100%.
I know that to have like a very powerful the system that Tim wants will probably cost like $20 million each. But
dude, you'd love it.
That's not what Nintendo's. That's. If you want that type, buy a Switch, a Steam Deck, or whatever. There's more powerful stuff in there. Exactly. That's not the market Nintendo is. Exactly. They want their moms and the dads, people like me now, to like I have 5 in my house. I have one for me, one for my girlfriend, one for both of my kids, and I have a spare one. So I have 5 Switches. That's what they want. Yeah. If this was a system that was $2,000, probably would not even have one. So you imagine the moms and dads, that's what they want. So they want an affordable system for the holidays that mom and dad buys for their kids.
Yeah.
They buy one each. If they have 2 or 3 kids, they all get a Switch.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work if they follow the Tim model. So that's what's important to realize now. It's not going to have the graphics that your phone has, whatnot, because a phone, it's expensive, man. It's like
of course
thousands of dollars for a phone, unless depending on.
I was going somewhere and you just killed it, but.
Because I'm yelling at the screen when I'm watching you guys sometimes, but
it's so funny. The thing, like, what I challenged him with the Steam Deck. I was like, go look at the Steam Deck options right now, and it's like $800 or something, the top one. And I said exactly what you were saying, that I was like, Nintendo would never do this. Never. Like, never in a million years would they do this. What I'm trying to say with the technology that's here is, in the last 5 years, we have experienced a revolution in mobile chipsets. And if Nintendo, which I'm sure they're going to, I guarantee you they're going to use an ARM architecture, which is basically what Apple's Silicon is running on, and it's been running on it now, I think 1, 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. I am positive, because it's dirt cheap now. It's dirt cheap to go back to the chips from like 4 years ago, and they are insanely powerful. Like insanely powerful. And knowing Nintendo, right? You release a version with 64 gigabytes, just with that much, and then have an SD card that you can upgrade. And yes, people like Tim will flip out, like he'll totally lose his mind and stuff, but who cares? And
I think that the cutoff is $500. I think they want to release a system that's $500. I don't think they want to be higher than that.
I don't even think that. I think, like, how much was the Switch when it came out? Was it $399?
You might be right. I'm thinking about Canadian prices here. I think it was about $500 Canadian, maybe a bit less than that.
Because that's my
I'd be curious to keep talking. I'll actually Google this.
Okay,
because it's important to know they might be a bit more, because the PlayStation 5 was a lot more expensive than the PS4 because of inflation and whatnot. So they might be a bit, maybe $50, $100 more. But they have a price point in mind here. They're not going to go over.
And that's exactly what we just spoke about. We literally just spoke about that, and I was saying that, like, Nintendo is never going to do it.
$299.99, $300 US.
Yeah,
so you're
so
right.
there you go.
It's not even.
There you go. And so I'm telling you right now, with what I know about mobile chipsets, you take an M1 processor, okay? So, like, you take that chip that Apple, it's not going to obviously be the exact same thing, but whatever. Take that thing from 4 years ago, okay? Maybe considering it's Nintendo and they do have bargaining power. Fine. Let's say today Apple's at an M3, so let's say they take an M1 or an M2 or a 1.5. Take that kind of power. That would be unbelievably powerful. That would be, for bang for buck, it's unbelievable. Like, it would be unbelievable. You slap in 64 gigs, that costs nothing today. It'll cost them nothing at all. You have maybe, like, I don't know, 8 gigs of RAM, they're done. And, like, put that all in one tiny micro little thing. It will allow the system to be super thin, cool, battery would last forever, and you could get away with it for $300, $400. There, done. I'm sure that's coming. And all these people that keep comparing, and I'll give kudos to Tim because he actually agreed with me, where I said, like, they will never release a Steam Deck killer, ever. That is never going to happen because it's not the same market. The only people that are going to buy a Steam Deck are, like, PC gamers that want that experience on the go. It is so expensive. That's what I had him do it live, like on the camera. It was like, look up right now, how much does the Steam Deck cost today, fully souped out with a terabyte and, all that crap. And it was like 800 Canadian or something. I was like, there's no chance, like zero chance Nintendo would ever do something like that. And they don't need to. Like, so I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that when the next Switch is announced, it's going to be pretty much exactly what I'm saying. I'm sure of it. That it's going to be that chipset and that thing. And you know what, dude? The games will be amazing. Like, they will.
Oh yeah.
Like, it'll be probably somewhere close to like a PS4. Something, like, to give an idea, like power-wise, it would be somewhere like probably just a little bit better than a PS4. Who cares? What's wrong with that? That's perfect. The only thing that I'm wondering... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, because there were some wild rumors of talking about, like, 2 screens so that they can remaster 3DS games and stuff. and I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I think Nintendo has learned about the Wii U experience. I don't think they're going to go for a gimmick anymore. That's gone. Those days are gone. 2 screens,
Could you imagine? Like, yep. Like, that would be hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Why would we need 2 screens? The thing that worked with the Switch was the fact that you could play it on the go and on your TV. Your TV doesn't have 2 screens.
Exactly.
So, I don't know.
No, I said the same thing. I was like, that's just sheer stupidity. Like, to me, like, that makes no sense. I really do hope they keep it exactly the same. Like, it worked. There's something about that. And yes, absolutely, there's indirect competition, and I call it that. Like, you have a lot of competitors now on the PC side, but again, it's different. Like, it's not the same thing. But I do think it's going to be really interesting to see what everyone else does. I'm so fascinated because, like, when the Switch came out, that was a real novelty. A lot of people, like, took notice of that and were like, okay, that's interesting that people are resonating towards that. You had a lot of PC manufacturers that started to, do their things. God, if they sold 100,000, I'd be shocked. Valve has a hardcore fan base, so I'm sure that sold moderately well. The Steam Deck, I'm pretty sure that did okay, but nowhere near like millions of units. That's not the idea. But what I'm curious is your Sonys and your Microsofts. I'm fascinated to watch these guys because I thought the PlayStation Portable was going to crash. I really did. I thought that was going to be a dumpster fire, and it sold well. But again, sold well compared to what? Right? Like, if they only made like 100,000 units, is that really selling well? But I am curious because there is something about that form factor that I really genuinely like. Being able to just clunk, and now I can play it on my big screen. Yeah. I really like that.
I'm just really curious about the marketing because, like I said, like, they had a lot of problems with the Wii U just on the concept itself ended up being terrible, but the naming also, the marketing, like... And they obviously probably don't want to lose the Switch name because it's a big factor now. But what are they going to do? They're going to call it the Switcheroo? Like, the Switch 2 sounds decent, but even that doesn't really sound sexy. I don't know.
It's Nintendo. I would be surprised if they did a numerical thing. But you're right. Yeah,
that's why. But they kind of need to because, I don't know. I don't like the name, the new Switch or the...
No, that would be dangerous. That would be very dangerous.
If they're not going to go for Switch 2, what will they do? Just a new brand in general?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. Because that's too dangerous. If doing like new Switch, you're going to have people like, you're going to have parents that are like, wow, there's nothing wrong with your old Switch. You don't need a new one.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
people don't realize how casual the gaming audience is. Like, the people that actually know and talk about games like we do, it's like probably less than 1% of the entire.
Yeah.
Like, most of the people buying stuff are moms and dads and people who don't even know what a new Switch would be. Like you just said, like you have the old Switch, you don't need a new Switch. Parents will say that.
Yeah.
Trust me. I'm starting to be one of those. Like, my sons keep talking to me about computers and whatnot, and I have no idea what they're talking about. Like I have. When you're texting me about some of the things you say, I have no clue.
Well, it's okay.
So I'm starting to be that. So I can't imagine the parents that didn't actually grow up with this stuff having their kids ask for a new Switch. They'll be wondering what's wrong with the one you have right now. So
I wonder if
That's gonna
Nintendo
be
would do that though. Really, like, would they actually?
the past they have. I think they've gone away with that. We haven't gotten the new in any like new Super Mario Brothers, new Yoshi's Island, new Nintendo 3DS. We haven't had the new name in a while.
Yeah, we haven't had that in a while. I
So
personally, I mean, the like I'm so old that like, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and for all intents and purposes, the N64 would have been the Ultra Nintendo, right?
yeah.
Like but I don't see them because that was something I think it was Ahmed was telling me the same, like having this discussion, and he was like, well, they could always make like a Super Switch, and I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. You know?
I'm very curious how they handle that because I'm not part of a marketing team, but I think it's a bigger challenge than people realize because you
It's
have
hard.
this franchise, this brand, the Switch that sold like 100 and what is it, 120, 150
Yeah,
million
it's
units.
way up there. I think it's like 136 or something.
So obviously you want to keep that name, you
Yeah.
want to, but you also I don't know. Very curious when they announce it, how they're gonna call it.
Yeah, because
This is-
Ahmed was like, he was hedging his bet. I think, and sorry, Ahmed, if you're listening and I'm butchering what, I'm pretty sure it was him I was having the conversation with, where it was like, well, why not just go back to the old naming convention? And I was like, maybe, but you would have to like dramatically change the logo and like you really.
That's what I think Sony did very well. Like keeping a PlayStation now, we know the next system will be called a PlayStation 6.
Yeah.
It's simple, it works.
Yeah.
And people understand it because it's been that way forever now.
Yeah.
I wish Nintendo would have kept it that way, but then again, their systems go from all over the place, so it's weird. Even Xbox, I don't understand.
Oh,
I think they didn't want to go for the Xbox 2 with the 360 because PlayStation was about to release a
Yeah.
PlayStation 3 and they didn't want it to sound
Yeah.
inferior.
Yeah.
But now they
No, but it's out of control now, right?
Yeah.
Xbox One, Xbox Series X, like
You talk about confusion. I'm not even sure what's going on anymore. Imagine parents like, what's the difference between an Xbox One X and an Xbox One Series X? Like, you know the difference.
yes, dude, I know.
I don't, but
Even
I'm
me.
sure.
Even me, when it comes to Xbox, I am so confused over all of this. I'm like, the only company to get this right was Sony.
Yeah.
It's like, I can just
Yeah.
imagine their marketing. You have like some guy walk into marketing and they're like, you know what? We're calling it 2. Like the second one. And they're like, that's the end of it. End of discussion. And that's it. And that's the thing. Like when they announced PlayStation Vita, I was like, that's so stupid. Call it PSP 2. And be done with it. There you go. Like, anyways, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Like PS6, we know it's coming. I know it's going to get ridiculous, like in 30 years or something, the PlayStation 12, if it's even out, like if they even continue to make them by then.
No, but I know what you mean, but it's just brilliant marketing. It's simple. It works.
Simple, yeah.
And now, like with the Switch, it's stupid to be hang up on such a small detail. But for me, it's like, I don't want a Wii U repeat again, never again.
Yeah.
So,
and
they
dude,
did it successfully in the past because the Game Boy was a really highly popular brand, and they switched to the DS, and it worked. So they can do it, but I don't know.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting because the new way of differentiating technologies has been to add a pro, right? Like a lot of companies started to do that, doing pros or pluses or S's and stuff like that.
Yeah, but for me, to me, it sounds like an upgrade, not a next system.
Precisely.
And I'm sure most parents will feel like that, and it'll be like your old Switch is fine.
Yeah, but
It'll
exactly.
be the same.
No,
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. So what I'm trying to say is like I can't see them going that route because if they do, it will be Wii U all over again.
Because the iPhones and the Pros and all the other technology you're talking about, they're marketed at techies, and people will buy them. They know what they're going.
Yeah.
Parents, they don't know shit.
Yeah.
I'm one of those. I don't know nothing about technology. So if you market something, it's very, especially a console like the Switch. This is a 100% marketed at families and parents.
Yeah.
That's their biggest like fan base. That's where they make their money.
Yeah.
So they need to be smart about this, and
So
I'm sure they will.
We'll see what they come up with because like I am curious. Would Super Switch or some something Switch, would that work? I don't know. It might. It depending on the marketing, right? You have to change the colors, you have to change the logo, you have to change all of that. But I agree.
I think that's too much. That's like it will work in the 90s, but now I don't know. And I think you need to go soon because you keep looking.
Oh no, it's because like there's a phone ringing. There's like, what the hell is happening? Well, we got to cut this anyways. We're over an hour. Yeah. No one's gonna watch it.
No, nobody. All right, so it's been awesome. Hopefully, we can do more fanboys episode in the future. Get the gang back together and go retro. Maybe we'll introduce back the Blast from the Past we used to do in every episode.
Oh my God, Blast!
I was thinking, do you remember how we used to start our old Canadian Gamers podcast?
No.
We used to have a theme song. We used to have an old theme song of something. You don't remember, right?
I don't.
At one time we had the Hockey Night in Canada. At one time we had the Watatatao team. Do you remember? It's funny. I don't know. Are these podcasts still available somewhere?
Yeah, of course.
I'm curious to see if the we used for some reason to put a theme song at the beginning.
That's
of
hilarious.
Course, this thing would never work.
No, never. We get copyright flagged right away. And that would be the end of it. That's hilarious. Well, listen, if we can continue to do them, I would very much like that. And we have to follow up this one. And I would really like to do a DQ podcast on Fanboyz because I'm wondering what the hell happened with Dragon Quest III 2D HD or HD 2D, whatever the hell it is, and what happened with Dragon Quest 12.
I think COVID happened. I think that's a thing. COVID. There was a lot of delays, and Dragon Quest has always been a franchise that has taken a lot of time. So I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But hopefully that's just
it's not even rare. It's never happened before that we got the title release and then nothing. Like normally you get the title release, then you get the main character, then you get the opening cinematic, then you get the gameplay, then you get the system around the same time. But we've never experienced anything like this. Like they gave us that, they broke from tradition to give us the title, and then it just vanished. So I was wondering, like for me, I was wondering, like, could that also be a Switch 2 type of thing if there's backwards compatibility? Because same thing like Pokemon, they'll never release it without.
Yeah, they released it on the 3DS first. People forget Dragon Quest 11, but no, I think it's COVID, man. It must be because I don't know.
Because I'm dying here, man.
Had a lot of momentum, and they were talking about. We had a discussion on this, I think, the last Fanboyz or whatever, about they wanted to do, and that was 2 years ago. Wanted to do a darker theme on Dragon Quest 12, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I haven't been following up, like I said, like Dragon Quest Monsters.
Dude,
that's pretty much the last thing I've played recently. So
there's been absolutely nothing. Even like in Japan, like when Nintendo had their last little thing there, they announced Mother 3 was coming to the online service. Dragon Quest, they announced like Yuji Hoри's, like one of his like really early Famicom games is coming, but nothing. Like Dragon Quest, we don't know anything. Dragon Quest, 10? The next expansion comes out in about 3 weeks. So I don't understand like what's going on. Anyways, we have the summer camp festival that they do every year, like Pokemon Day, same idea. This summer, if we don't hear anything this summer, then I'm lost. That'll be 3 years with absolutely nothing. So I don't get it. Yeah, it's weird. So anyways, that's it. Let's go. Run away.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I love when Jarrod always puts me on the spot like that. Very professional. And hopefully we'll be back in a few days with the follow-up to this discussion.
Thanks, guys. Take care.